Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. Got 3 topics to discuss in this latest video. Attorney John Deaton has called out a United States senator, frankly, for harming individual investors, because that's the end result of what this senator is saying the correct path forward is as it pertains specifically to crypto and regulation about crypto. Also, Attorney John Deaton says, hey, we may be seeing some very important rulings coming down imminently before the end of this month, including the ruling on whether or not Ripple may argue its fair notice defense in court, which is of crucial importance. If Ripple is allowed to proceed with its fair notice defense, the SEC, I think, is going to be tremendously fearful because there's so much at stake. If Ripple's allowed to argue that, and if they win, it's going to set precedent that would take away tremendous power from the SEC, as I've been discussing for some time now. So it's interesting to see that we may get word on that very, very soon. I'll share with you the specifics on what John Deaton had to say on that. And then also at the tail end of this video, I've just got something quick to say about some nonsense having to do with Bitcoin and proof-of-work mining. Because there's a claim by Bitcoin maximalists that Bitcoin, being an energy hog, is actually good for the environment ultimately, and coming up with new technology. And I just want to tear apart that argument just very quickly. It doesn't take much to tear it to shreds, and then I'll be on my merry little way here. But before going any further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun, damn it. So here's the offending tweet from United States Senator Elizabeth Warren. And look, and I swear to you, I'm not a fan of her regardless, but I don't care if the individual being discussed is on the left or the right politically. It does not matter to me. If they are proposing a path forward that harms crypto and crypto investors, they're going to get called out. I've called out people on the left and the right for those, because it's not about the individual. I'm not attacking the individual. I'm challenging the ideas. And the ideas that Elizabeth Warren has on crypto are horrible and toxic. So here's what she tweeted out. I've been ringing the alarm bell on crypto, from consumer protection to the environment to national security, especially since Russian elites can use digital assets to undermine sanctions. The President of the United States is right to spotlight crypto's risks, and we need strong rules before it's too late. And so I've already ripped this argument to shreds so many times, not just from her, just from so many people. This idea that crypto, this is the place to go. This is the shadowy place where the bad people go to engage in nefarious activities. You know, that's the same argument that people had for the internet. You know, there were people, I kid you not, in the mid-90s that wanted to shut down the internet. There are some people that wanted you to have an actual license to like get on the World Wide Web, to get on the internet. You had to be approved by the government, because the proliferation of all of this knowledge, essentially you could put the sum of all human knowledge right there, accessible to the fingertips of any human. That was dangerous, right? Very, very dangerous. Well, level heads prevailed, and that's not what happened, thankfully, here. But the truth is that these activities, they're on public blockchains, almost all of them. Most blockchains are public. And so when you're talking about the cryptocurrencies native to those blockchains moving around, you can track all of it. You know, and we've shown that data proves a tiny fraction of a percent of all activity having to do with Bitcoin and crypto, a tiny fraction of a percent is actually used for illegal purposes. And those people that are engaging in these nefarious activities, like, they get caught. They're idiots. People are figuring out over time, hey, if we're going to be idiot criminals, let's not do it here, because you're more likely to get caught. You'd be better off using paper money, frankly. You really would. So this is all completely disingenuous and garbage, and there's a reason that John Deaton tore this down. And so he retweeted that and wrote, I've heard and seen it all. You, Senator, do not stand for the individual investor. You stand for and behind the incumbent financial system. No friend to the individual investor. Golf clap for Mr. Deaton. He's absolutely hitting the nail on the head, and it deserves to be highlighted. And then I retweeted what John wrote there, and I said, the senator's positions require a complete denial of fundamental facts surrounding the very nature of cryptocurrencies. It's hard to believe her position is merely due to a lack of knowledge. She intensely she's intentionally fighting against this asset class, harming investors. Yeah, so you've got to ask what the motive is at this point. I don't think that she is unaware of this information. It's been crammed down her throat by all sorts of people in crypto at this point. She's pretending that data doesn't exist. She just seems to not care. On to the next topic, which is a little bit more fun. Imminent ruling on fair notice defense? Yes, please, I'll take two. Here's the headline from you today. XRP lawsuit. Ripple's upcoming court decisions might be revealed as soon as end of March, says John Deaton. According to crypto law founder John Deaton, Ripple's expected court ruling might come down as soon as the end of March. The reason, he explains, is twice per year, federal judges submit a list to Congress of motions pending for 6 months or longer. The next list is due March 31st. If Judge Torres doesn't issue a ruling on the pending motions, she must report those motions for inclusion on the 6-month list. And so what's this all about? I had not heard about this, and he was first talking about this on the Thinking Crypto YouTube channel when he was interviewed by the host Tony. And I checked that out, and it was interesting because I had no idea this existed. Believe it or not, the reason that this is a requirement is because of President Joe Biden, who was then a senator, actually. So I did a minimal amount of research here. It didn't take much, just a quick Google, and I came up with this article. This is very interesting because you might be wondering, why does a judge have to report every 6 months for motions that are pending past that range? And it's actually pretty much what I personally was guessing, but I wanted to get some verification on that. But check this out. This is from jdsupra.com. This piece is from last year. It doesn't matter when it's from. It's relevant regardless. But it's titled, "When Will the Judge Decide My Motion? Insight from the Civil Justice Reform Act." It can be tough to wait for a judge to decide your motion. Lawyers and clients generally want a decision quickly, but sometimes that doesn't happen. A little-known law, though, might help you learn a bit more about when your next motion will be decided. Under the Civil Justice Reform Act of 1990, judges must report motions that have been pending for more than 6 months, twice a year. Once on March 31st, and again on September 30th. Generally, a motion is considered pending 30 days after it's filed. So that's why John Deaton was saying, if the judge doesn't want to be reported in this capacity, then she has to give a ruling on the fair notice defense. It has to be announced before this month's over, period. Has to be, or else it has to go on this list. And so what's the rationale for this? Well, it is what I was guessing, so check this out from the article. The Civil Justice Reform Act, introduced by then-Senator Biden, included a finding that, quote, the reduction of delays in deciding fully briefed motions can be encouraged by substantially expanding the availability of public information about backlogs in undecided motions, end quotes. In other words, the idea was to name and shame judges with many pending motions. So how about that? So that could mean potentially this would be a nudge to get the judge to rule on this sooner than later, which I wouldn't mind happening. As far as whether or not this is a good or a bad policy to have in place, I don't know. See, the way that I work in life is, that's the reason that you get a lot of I don't knows from me. I mean, but what I do believe something, it's because I've done a sufficient amount of research, let's say, and then I have a strong opinion. But when I don't know something, it's because I would want to hear the opposing viewpoint on this, so I don't just go to, oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, 6 months, why would you want to go past that? No. See, and I'm not telling you what to think, it's more about how to think. So my curious mind is like, okay, that's compelling. Maybe it is good. Maybe this is legitimately a good thing, generally speaking. But on the flip side, I'm also sitting there wondering, okay, but I don't have a law background. Before this thing was passed, I'd just be sitting there thinking, okay, I'd want to go to people operating in the space and be like, okay, so how much time, like what's your workload typically? How much time do you really need to get these, to consider these motions and rule on them? Like what is actually normal and reasonable? Is 6 months even reasonable? Because I can respect the idea of not wanting a motion to be pending in perpetuity for a prolonged period of time, I can understand the need for that. And also, I'd want to know, are there other safeguards in place that would have made this law redundant? So there are things. It's more about having a curious mind. It's not what to think, it's how to think. And that's why, is this good or not? My answer is I don't know. I'd want to hear the opposing viewpoint first. In this case, either way, though, since it's in place, perhaps in this specific instance, it could be good for us if we want to ruling sooner than later in this, if it nudges the judge. Now, the judge doesn't have to rule prior to this, but it very well could be the case. So Attorney John Deaton was asked, okay, what are the rulings that need to be decided here? And John wrote the following. Judge Torres' ruling on motion to strike fair notice defense and individual defendants' motion to dismiss. I also believe Judge Netburn's ruling on the 63 emails and the Estabrook notes come down any day. All right, now on to this. There was this tweet from Bitcoin maximalist Anthony Pompliano. He shared the following with his 1.5 million followers all up on the Twitters. And he wrote, proof of work mining will drive energy independence. Audible sigh. It's just like facepalm, audible sigh, all that jazz. That is ridiculous. Look, think about how supply and demand work. If there is a lot of demand for something that doesn't exist, then increasing the demand and desire for something that doesn't exist is not going to make it magically exist. In the case of clean, efficient, renewable energy, it's not as if people the world over aren't working on that. Of course they are. To think that Bitcoin will be the catalyst for us entering some sort of energy utopia is the height of absurdity. And frankly, like I'm not, look, Bitcoin is an energy hog compared to like XRP, for example. Undeniably true. In fact, XRP Ledger consumes so little energy, it's basically energy neutral. It's about there. It's almost nothing, right? But even with how much energy Bitcoin consumes, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I'll cede this point, and it's fair to point this out. It's just data. I don't remember the number, but you can look it up yourself. The amount of energy that Bitcoin takes compared to everything else on the planet is almost nothing. So in terms of the harm it's causing, negligible at best. The harm that Bitcoin is actually causing, and that's if you buy into the whole, as far as the climate change argument. I'm not going to, it's a political thing. I'm not saying yay or nay on that. I'm just saying, if you believe, even if you believe it. Okay, so, but if you do, you got to think, this is just a tiny, infinitesimally small piece of the overall energy pie of the planet. Incredibly small. Now, huge compared to XRP and other cryptos. Yeah, sure. But incredibly small. And I don't know if most people realize that, which is why when I see Bitcoin getting attacked, I'm like, not that I'm defending Bitcoin, but can we just throw out some numbers there? Like, in the scheme of things, like, if this was the best we could have technologically, I'm like, okay. If it would take this to have crypto exist, I'd be like, okay. Now, again, clearly there are more efficiencies. But I'm just saying here, given how small this is compared to the rest of it, like that little bit of energy consumption, Anthony Pompliano believes that's what's going to spur this sort of energy utopia. Energy independence, that's what's going to, all the renewable stuff that we, everybody would love to have happen, that's going to do it. It's the tiniest little piece of the pie in terms of energy consumption globally, but that's going to be the catalyst. Do you understand how many people are working on this damn problem right now? And so I see this, I'm just like, okay, this is a disingenuous argument. And when I see stuff like this, it makes me question the degree to which people are being intellectually honest, because I value intellectual honesty above almost anything else. I really do. When it comes to my relationships with humans, I don't need people to be right all the damn time. I mean, yeah, if you're a clumsy idiot and you're saying a bunch of untrue stuff, even if you have good intentions, at some point I'll be like, yeah, okay. But if you're operating in good faith and just being intellectually honest, you get my respect. That's just how it works. That's how it works in life. But then I see an argument like this and like, my gosh, you're just defending Bitcoin for the sake of defending Bitcoin. This is disingenuous and I'm calling it out. And so I tweeted in response and I wrote, there is no shortage of demand for better/improved energy sources. Adding more demand to a situation where there's already plenty of demand will not result in a magical energy solution. And folks, this could not be more obvious. It's so obvious that I'm hearting my own tweet right there. I am publicly on this video because it's so stupid. I'm adding to the stupidity by hitting the heart on my own little stupid tweet there. That's how Moon Lambo rolls up in that bitch, because why the hell not? Man, this is dumb. So nothing personal against Anthony Papagliano. I'm just saying. It's not a good argument. It really is not a good argument. Ugh, that grinds my gears. All right, I'm wrapping up here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.